Officer Ethan Brooks stood frozen in the cold night air, staring at the empty road where the little girl had just disappeared. Only seconds ago, she had been standing right there under the flickering street lamp. Now, there was nothing. No footsteps in the snow, no sound, no movement, just silence. And the yellow bus stop sign that read, Bus Stop 47. Ethan's hands trembled as he looked around. His training told him there had to be an explanation. A child hiding, a trick of the light, a stress-induced hallucination. But his gut told him something else, something much darker. Because he had heard the name, Lily Carter. And according to the old files sitting in the police archive, Lily Carter had been missing for 24 years. The next morning, Ethan sat alone in the basement archive room of the Maplewood Police Department, flipping through the brittle case file again and again. The fluorescent light above him buzzed softly. Dust floated through the air, and the deeper he looked, the more wrong everything felt. The report was too clean, too short, too incomplete. A child had vanished in a small town, and somehow the investigation barely filled a thin folder. That didn't happen unless someone wanted it that way. Then Ethan noticed it again, the missing pages, torn out carefully, not damaged by time, removed on purpose. He closed the file slowly. Someone had hidden part of the truth, and whoever did it was probably still in town. That afternoon, Ethan confronted Sheriff Walter Hayes in his office. Hayes sat behind the desk, his weathered face unreadable. Ethan placed the old file in front of him. Why are pages missing from Lily Carter's case? Hayes didn't even look surprised. He just leaned back and folded his hands. Some old cases don't help anyone, Brooks. Ethan stared at him. A little girl disappeared. Hayes finally looked up. And no amount of digging is going to change what happened. That sentence stayed in Ethan's mind long after he walked out. Not what we know, not what we found, but what happened, as if Hayes already knew. That evening, Ethan drove out to the Carter farmhouse at the edge of town. The place looked frozen in time. Bare trees, a rusted mailbox, a porch light that seemed too dim to fight off the dark. When Thomas Carter opened the door, Ethan saw the face of a man who had spent half his life waiting for a knock that never came. "I saw her," Ethan said quietly. Thomas didn't ask who. He already knew. For a moment, his face broke in a way Ethan would never forget. Then Thomas stepped aside and let him in. Inside the farmhouse, the air smelled like old wood, coffee, and grief. A wall in the living room was covered with photographs of Lily, birthday pictures, school pictures, Christmas pictures, and in nearly every one of them, she was wearing the same red coat. "She waits there," Thomas said softly. Ethan turned to him. "You've seen her before?" Thomas nodded. "More times than I can count." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Thomas gave a bitter smile. "Because after a while, people stop listening. They start calling you crazy, or worse, they start feeling sorry for you." He walked to the fireplace and picked up a framed photo of Lily. She was supposed to come home from church that night. She never made it. Ethan hesitated. "Do you think someone took her?" Thomas looked straight into his eyes. "No." He lowered his voice. "I think someone hit her." Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. "And I think the wrong people covered it up." "Who?" Thomas's answer came without hesitation. "Walter Hayes." Back at the station, Ethan made a decision that could end his career. At 1:34 a.m., he returned to the station after everyone had gone home. He unlocked the old records room and searched the retired evidence bins under Sheriff Hayes's old deputy files. Inside one locked box, hidden beneath old holiday event paperwork and traffic reports, he found a sealed envelope. Written across the front, "Do not file." His pulse quickened. Inside were the missing pages from Lily's case, and one document changed everything. a witness statement from a woman named Margaret Bell, dated December 14, 1998. She claimed she saw a little girl in a red coat get into a county sheriff's truck near Willow Creek Road the night Lily disappeared. The driver? Deputy Walter Hayes. Ethan's blood ran cold. There was another note clipped to the statement, typed in faded ink, "Witness unreliable, statement withdrawn." But below it, Ethan noticed something strange. The signature didn't match the rest of the document. It looked shaky, forced, almost fake. Margaret Bell had never withdrawn her statement. Someone had buried it. A floorboard creaked behind him. Ethan turned sharply. Sheriff Hayes stood in the doorway, and in his hand, a revolver. For one long second, nobody moved. Then Hayes spoke. "I told you to let it go." Ethan slowly stood up. "You were there that night." Hayes's jaw tightened. "It was an accident. You hit her." Hayes looked away, and that was all the answer Ethan needed. The old sheriff's shoulders sagged, like he had been carrying the same weight for 24 years and had finally run out of strength. "I'd been drinking. Too much." The room felt smaller. "I was driving back from the holiday fundraiser. I turned onto Willow Creek Road. She ran out into the road." Ethan's voice was ice. "And you hit her." Hayes nodded. "She was still alive." That made Ethan sick. "She kept crying for her father," Hayes whispered. "Then why didn't you call for help?" Hayes's face twisted. "Because I was a deputy. I had a family, a son, a career. If anyone found out, so you chose yourself." Hayes slammed his fist against a cabinet. "I panicked." Silence. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said the words that haunted the room. "I put her in the truck. I thought I could fix it. I thought maybe I could get her somewhere quiet, figure something out." Ethan stared at him in horror. "Where is she?" Hayes's eyes filled with tears. "By the creek, near the old willow tree." Then something happened that neither man could explain. The fluorescent lights flickered, once, twice. Then the entire room went freezing cold. Ethan saw his own breath. Hayes stepped backward, his face draining of color. "No!" From the hallway came a soft sound. Tap, 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 like wet shoes on old tile. A small figure appeared in the doorway. A little girl, dark curls, red coat, pale face. Lily. Hayes dropped the revolver. It hit the floor with a loud metallic crack. He collapsed to his knees, shaking. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Lily didn't look angry. She looked tired and sad. Then she slowly raised one hand and pointed toward the window, toward Willow Creek, and then she was gone, like mist disappearing in moonlight. By sunrise, state police had taken over the scene. Hayes confessed everything. Search teams moved quickly. They dug near the old willow tree beside the creek where the frozen earth met tangled roots, and after nearly 24 years, they found her, Lily Carter, still wrapped in the red coat her father had bought her for Christmas. Even the hardened state troopers stood in silence. But the most heartbreaking discovery came moments later. Inside her coat pocket, there was a folded piece of paper, worn thin by time, a handmade Christmas card. On the front, in crooked, childlike handwriting, "To Daddy, I love you forever." When Thomas Carter arrived, he fell to his knees before he even reached the yellow police tape. Ethan helped him stand. No father should ever have to see that, but Thomas insisted. With trembling hands, he took the card, held it against his chest, and cried like the last 24 years had all broken open at once. "I told her I'd wait for her," he whispered. Ethan looked away, giving him the privacy grief deserves. That evening, the entire town gathered at bus stop 47. Candles lined the road, flowers covered the base of the sign. People who had once whispered ghost stories now stood in silence, ashamed that they had turned a little girl's pain into a local legend. Thomas stepped forward carrying Lily's old stuffed rabbit. He placed it gently beneath the sign. Then he looked at the empty road and said through tears, "You can go home now, sweetheart." The wind moved softly through the trees. The street lamp flickered once, and for the first time in 24 years, the road felt peaceful. No coldness, no strange weight in the air, no small figure in a red coat. Lily never appeared at bus stop 47 again. A month later, the town council renamed it Lily's Stop, not because she had waited there, but because that's where the truth finally stopped running. And every Christmas Eve, Thomas Carter still returns to that road. He leaves a handmade card beneath the sign. And every year he writes the same words, "To Lily, Daddy came back."